Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Joe Hunk. Right now, the latest update on Damar Hamlin is that he is still in critical condition, resting in the ICU. But there's some good things that have come from this. In fact, the fact that his donations or that have been made to his foundation has reached $4.5 million in the last 24 hours. Now, for the Tennessee Titans, they're getting ready for the Jags game on Saturday. And you're trying to figure out who's going to be playing? Well, they have signed some players to the practice squad. Curtis Brooks, the defensive tackle, Shaheem Carter, the defensive back, and Sam Okawanu have all been brought on to the practice squad. Coach Vrabel just a little while ago said that as of today, they have still not designated David Long to return from the IR. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Vols, the flagship station for your Tennessee Titans, and home to 3HL. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Y'all, welcome in 3HL 104.5 The Zone. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, Ron Slay. We'll get to them in just a second. But I want to tell you, tornado watch rolled this morning until 11 o'clock. There was a lightning strike at our house. I have never heard a louder lightning strike ever. And these guys were like helping move a couch into our basement, and they were walking around the side of the house. And it happened while they were walking around. So when they got there, I was like, "Did you guys get struck by lightning?" He's like, "Man, I saw it hit. It hit right next to your house, right on that tree." And I look over there, and there were two trees that were like sawed off midway.
You need to go play the lottery.
I'm like, "This is serious."
That's scary.
Scary. What's up, Babs?
Hi. How is everybody?
Doing good, Babsette.
Yeah.
Hello
Babs
again, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we're good. Pink headphones,
Yep. Back in studio.
big earrings.
Yeah, we got dinner tonight.
Yeah, I know. How do you do the headphone, like the big headphone thing, like the Princess Leia headphones, and like you're
Big earrings?
You're piloting a starship or something, and then the big earrings too.
They're so big, they're like dangly. They dangle under the headphones.
She's got
Way
plenty of those
easier than
earrings, the
studs.
dangly ones.
Hello, Joe.
You
Hunt.
know, the
Solid
dangly ones.
I just worry about your headphones, just because you like to rip your headphones right off
I do.
your head.
Yeah.
For breaks. I don't want you to rip those earrings right out.
It's okay. I'm a pro.
Okay.
I'm a dangly pro.
Speaking of a pro, there he is. He's Ron Slay.
Oh, well,
I'm in the building.
pro.
I'm in the building.
And from
Hey,
Nashville,
bro.
Tennessee, at 6'8",
Former.
at power forward,
Former pro.
Ron Slay.
We can't call you a pro anymore.
I mean, you can. I just,
Y'all better
looking
buckle
at
up, 'cause this guy
my
ain't got no
paycheck
room.
on things. It's not the pro.
It's not quite a pro paycheck.
That's not really what I was used to.
What are you talking about? That radio money isn't boiling over or anything?
It's not, I remember some other zeros.
Welcome to the real world, my friend.
Those other zeros were your friends.
They were. Zeros.
How did those contracts work? Was it year to year, or did you sign multi-year deals, or like?
It depends.
How did those work?
It depends. I always signed. I tried to sign 1 year. I didn't want to get tied into, especially being in Europe, being tied into a contract year when I'm knowing that I could flourish the year before. You know what I'm saying? Like this
Right.
present year right here, I wouldn't want to be tied in for some money next year, knowing that I'm finna have a good year.
But
and I can
then
get more money.
there's also the stability of
Without question.
once you get older, if you do sign a
Yeah.
multi-year deal, so if you lose a step,
Yep.
then you're still set,
Yep.
right?
I went and
it's
looked at
tough.
one of my contracts when I had my back surgery, and they offered me another year on that, and I didn't take it. And when I look back on it, I was like, golly, I probably should have took that.
Mm-hmm.
Then because you can not play around, but have an okay year.
And recover.
And recover, yeah.
Although it worked out okay for
Yeah,
you.
it was pretty cool. Had a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
It is.
Yeah. So radio's a lot.
It's fun.
A little
different than
different.
that. Yeah.
It's more fun. Less teammates I got to deal with.
For those that don't know,
Greater
we are
teammates.
under
And less
contract
teammates.
here.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's the reality of the situation. Also, the reality of the situation, the prayers are up for Damar Hamlin. And we were all watching the game last night. Just kind of an innocuous tackle, it looked like. And he gets up, and that was so frightening to see. It's one thing for a guy to make a hit and then lay there. It's another thing to see him get up for, they said 3 seconds. I don't know. And then just completely collapse. And immediately you see the personnel from both teams, not just players, and so like the players are circling around him, but the personnel from each team running onto the field with walkie-talkies, like calling people, and you're like, okay, this is something. But
it immediately felt different.
It immediately felt different, but at that point, you're not thinking, oh, his heart stopped on the field.
Right.
But when they rolled that ambulance out there, they don't do that.
No, that's different. Anytime that comes out, that's what held my attention. Because you expect when somebody go down and teams gather around them, somebody's gonna be all right. At some point they're gonna get them on the gurney.
So the latest of the in terms of news here is Damar Hamlin is in critical condition. He is sedated. He is in ICU in Cincinnati, and he suffered cardiac arrest on the field, had his heartbeat restored on the field. Defibrillators,
Which
man.
is the good news.
Yep,
That they were
defibrillators
able to start his heart again on the field.
and CPR and oxygen and all of those things. And we were all texting, like I know a lot of y'all were with your friends and things like that, but there were so many elements to the story that just terrified you for this guy. And one of the things I thought about, oddly enough, was the scene in Jerry Maguire where Rod Tidwell went down and his family wasn't at the game. They were watching on television. And so I was thinking, like, this guy's got friends and family watching on television, and the TV broadcast, and we'll get to that part of it because it was phenomenal broadcasting. Not that really matters, but like just doing what we do, we pay attention to those things. And they went to 4 breaks. Like, so if you're sitting at home watching, you're getting nothing. Because they would come back and say, we really have nothing to add. Let's take another break. And
you knew when there was no up-close shot, too. And honestly, you knew when you saw Josh Allen's reaction and Stephon Diggs' reaction, you knew how serious it was when you saw those players and how they reacted immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me, like, the pit in my stomach.
Yeah. And so then they get him in the ambulance. They get him into the tunnel, and then they hold the ambulance there waiting for his mother. And I thought, okay, his mother's there. That's, none of it's good, but at least she's there with her son. And that's when you started, Dawn, talking with various people around the football world, but also in the medical community. And one of the things you came across was, not that this happened, but like this might be a reason why they don't take the ambulance immediately, because we thought that was a bad sign, obviously,
Right.
But they can't do paddles.
Nope. In a moving
vehicle. I don't know if they were doing paddles. I just thought, okay, well, that makes sense. That part of it makes sense.
Right.
But anyway, they get him to the hospital. The Bills, I do want to address like the NFL and how they handled this in the next segment. So I don't want to go too far into that right now, but the whole 5-minute window and then to get ready. We'll get into that. Here's the other thing. Slay and I were talking before the show. Don't forget about T. Higgins in this deal.
Yeah.
I know everybody's praying for Damar Hamlin, and as well you should, and his family and his friends. And if you're a prayerful person, certainly he needs it, could use it. They could, all of that.
Well, and I don't know if you saw after the game in the tunnel, there's some video and a picture floating around of T. Higgins walking with his mom through the tunnel and has his arms around her. Like it just to describe it made me feel like it was a 12-year-old boy hugging his mom. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So like, please remember too what he's probably going through. And listen, and Bart Scott got on ESPN this morning talking about, almost put the blame on that kind of hit on T. Higgins. Now, he didn't say, oh, that was T. Higgins' fault, but he talked about him lowering his head and all that. No, that was a routine football play. How many
Yeah.
times have we seen something like that
Well.
over and over?
Mm-hmm.
So when Bart Scott went down that avenue, it made me angry, because there's nothing that you can do differently in this situation, in this game.
It's happening too fast.
It's happening way too fast, and you can't, don't sit there and say, oh, he should have been flagged for that play. Are you kidding me?
Right.
That's a terrible take.
I know. It's funny, man. Once we get on this show, I start remembering things. So I got a former teammate that dealt with something like this with Todd Helton's nephew, I believe, Hunter Helton, up in Knoxville when he was coaching. John Higgins, the player, he was 14 at the time. I think 2012, collapsed on the floor, and he had to revive him and get the defibrillator and bring him back. And then he was rushed to the hospital, then moved to Vanderbilt, and he ended up being fine. So it's just interesting to see all sides of it. People dealing with it in different ways. So maybe somebody we can reach out to and hear what his thoughts were when he go through that situation.
Well,
I just can't imagine.
Yeah, we had active shooter training here a couple of different times, and they were talking about the importance of having a defibrillator everywhere. And it's great to see all the universities have them. Certainly the NFL stadiums have them. Airports, high schools now.
Mm-hmm.
We had one of my kids' teammates on the CPA basketball team. His grandmother was there getting ready for a tournament, so they just love basketball. So they were there all day.
Mm-hmm.
CPA wasn't even playing for a few more hours, but she had an event laid out on the floor. Luckily, there was a nurse in the building. They had two different defibrillators.
Mm-hmm.
There's an R after that F for those that don't know.
You got it.
And it makes it hard to say. Defibrillators. And the first one they tried didn't work, but they had two. And the second one did, and she's alive at basketball games now.
Wow.
And this was a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
So anyway, those little devices are very, very important, and luckily they are a lot more common. And they used that last night. Also CPR, also oxygen, and so we continue to pray. They had to sedate him to intubate him.
Yeah.
So his levels, vitals, were actually good. Last night they said that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Which
certainly hope
apparently
there.
is actually standard after a cardiac episode too. Is that's the, even with vitals good, that is the standard to intubate,
Yep.
to monitor, to test, to do all of that for 24 hours. So
All right, we'll talk about how the NFL handled that little situation last night. Not little situation, that massive situation last night. And we'll do that next. Get your take on what happened. 615-737-1045, 615-737-1045, 3HL on 1045 The Zone, thanks to Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. We'll be right back.
do you want to kick off the new year without credit card debt? Don't we all? What can you do? You can call Loan Pronto. You can ask them about their Express Equity line of credit, and you can wipe all of that credit card debt out now. Rates are down. Great move right now to get on more solid financial footing for the new year, and Loan Pronto can help you do it. You don't have to do a full home refi. Tap into a portion of the equity you have. Enjoy that rate. That's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. And Loan Pronto and their Express Equity credit line can help you close in 7 to 10 days and help you access up to 95% of your home's equity. Maybe you're going to say, okay, Dawn, guess what? I just did a total refi last year. Doesn't matter. You can still tap the equity with a fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Loan Pronto, that's who you need to call, 615-499-5780. I've worked with them before. They're great. Love them. They make it so simple. LoanPronto.com. You can start the process there. Give them a call. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
What's up, good people? Music City Autoplex, that is the location you need to go hit. If you're thinking about or dreaming about going to go get a car, they can make it all worth it, man. Make those dreams come true. 2430 Gallatin Pike North, that is the location. It is just north of Rivergate. Yes, where Rivergate Mall used to be for all the all the old heads, the real Nashvillians right here. But for the people just getting here, right there, down the street from Madison, right down the street from Rivergate, you can't miss it, right between Rivergate and Hendersonville. That's enough about the location. Let's get about what they're giving. This is where you will go get not high prices. No, they will be prices that very affordable. Matter of fact, the best prices in Middle Tennessee, and that's a guarantee. In fact, they want you to shop around and compare the prices to others that you will see for yourself that Music City Autoplex is holding it down and will not let you down. You still looking to get a little cash in your pocket for the new year? Well, $500 will be rewarded to you if you go in there and let them know Big Slay sent you and you go purchase the car. It's Music City Autoplex, the Uncommon dealership. Go get your car.
HL 104.5 The Zone. Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, Ron Slay. Prayers up for Damar Hamlin. In critical condition, in intensive care. That's the latest news. Sedated. Buffalo flew back. The Bills flew back last night. Some of the players did stick around to be at the hospital. And it made me – yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, obviously with my people who know me know I love sports. I'm also a news junkie. I spent 5 years as a morning anchor where a lot of breaking news happens, obviously, and you never kind of know what you're going to end up walking into on a shift. But because of that, I'm fascinated by the coverage aspect of things like this as well, and
which we'll get to because it was phenomenal.
Right, exactly. So I, needless to say, sat up and watched coverage all night until I got to the point where I was like, okay, nothing new is going to come out. But you talk about the teammates and the players and some of them sticking around. How about Stephon Diggs Ubering to the hospital and walking in? Coley Harvey, the ESPN reporter, just happened to be right there, and caught him as he's trying to walk into the hospital, where the officer wouldn't let him in because, he didn't realize who he was, but flat out Ubered to the hospital just to say, I have to be there for my teammate, and Coley Harvey saying, I had to let the officer know, like, he's legit.
Yep.
This is one of his teammates. You can let him in, you know?
Ryan Clark was phenomenal. Scott Van Pelt was phenomenal. They went 75 minutes without a break.
That's crazy.
And they were so good.
So good. We'll talk about the coverage of it. Also, Mike Organ with the Tennessean did a good job catching up with Brad Gaines, who was the Vanderbilt player in 1989 that was hit by Chucky Mullins. And Chucky Mullins was paralyzed from the neck down after that hit and died less than 2 years later. And Brad Gaines and Chucky Mullins became great friends in those months following that deal. And so we got some quotes from Brad Gaines about that, about the T. Higgins aspect of that.
Yeah.
About being the guy that was hit by the guy.
Right.
Because, T. Higgins needs your prayers too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that as well. Other stories out there, Jim Harbaugh talking with the NFL. We got a take on that.
Shocker.
Yeah, it looks like the NCAA wants a 90-team basketball tournament.
Stupid.
You think?
I'm just going to, it's going to be one words today.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Ain't nothing wrong with the Babs.
Here we go with Babs today.
Somewhere my son's going to go, Mommy, she said a bad word.
I know. I'm sorry, kids. Don't use that word.
I said that one time, and one of my kids was like really young at the time. We get over to their grandmother's house, and he goes, Nana, Daddy said the S word on the way over here. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? Did I?
Yeah.
Like the real S word?
No, he goes, yeah, you said that somebody driving in front of you was stupid.
Ooh, Baby Babs is at the age where she starts
to repeat
repeating.
things. Be careful with that.
She dropped a Shiano the other day.
Yep. Now what?
Because she dropped something.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
I looked at Mr. Babs. I was like, where did she learn that? He was like, come on. Are you kidding?
I know daycare teachers will tell you all the time, like, if you understood what your kids say.
Yeah. Yes, the echo box.
We were talking about
at least she knew the context of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about the need for defibrillators everywhere, and now they're in high schools. I told you a story about CPA where one was needed and saved a life. We've got former ball basketball player John Higgins on the line now. He coaches basketball at Science Hill. John, what's up? How are you, man?
You guys.
Hey, we're good.
Good.
Higgy wine.
What's up, Slay? How you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. For the listeners out there, man, this is the one and only John Higgins, man.
How did he get that nickname, Higgy Wine?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
That's a slang nickname, isn't it?
Everybody know, hey, listen, I give out nicknames, man, and they stick, so his nickname stick. It's stuck. We'll have to tell that on another date on the Boom 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 probably. But, nothing crazy, but, everybody had to have a nickname. Higgs just had his. Higgs, man, how you doing, dog?
I'm well, man. Thanks for asking. Thanks for calling me, man.
Yeah. We want you to tell a story because I think all these stories are important on a day like this. But before we do that, did you know that you wanted to get into coaching when you were playing? Like, at what point did you know you wanted to coach?
I always felt like I could be a coach even when I was playing. I just didn't know at what level. And after toiling around overseas for a few years and doing different jobs I realized that high school was the level for me. So, I've been coaching since, 14 years now. So it's been a while.
Wow.
He tried to coach me. I wasn't having that though, man.
You trying to coach Slay?
Feel me?
Listen, some people are easier to coach than others.
Especially when you and Slay are trying to take the same shots.
No, nobody's taking the same shots as Ron Slay. There's a lot of shots out there that Ron's taking that other people are not.
Shoot for the state of Tennessee on that floor.
Hence the uncoachable part, right?
Hey, only Higgs, man. Higgs, today, man, we were talking about on the show, and it dawned on me, man, Higgs dealt with this. You had a player go into cardiac arrest when you were coaching in 2012. Can you fill us in on this story?
Yeah, I don't really like to talk about it as much, but my first year at Central High School, being head coach there, we had a young man who was a freshman at the time during our preseason conditioning drill, basically pass out and suffer cardiac issues, and we had to do CPR and use the AED on him as well, and luckily it turned out well for everybody, and he does have a defibrillator now in his chest. But, it was a scary moment for everybody involved, for me and my assistant coaches and the players that were there. As I saw it last night on TV, I told my wife, I said, I was in shock and awe just like everybody else. And, again, prayers up for Damar Hamlin and his family, because I know firsthand what it's like for the family to see it or to get that phone call and be involved in it.
How hard was it to stay calm in that situation? You see, and we're talking about, 14-year-old kid that goes down? Like, what was going through your mind, and how are you able to kind of get in the moment and stay calm?
For me, it was, as the leader of, and I think we probably had 35 people in the gym that day, as the leader of these young men, it was important for me not to lose my cool. And luckily I had some older seniors that were able to go and get some help from the fire department right down the street. So they ran down there and helped in that nature. But, just kind of the training kind of kicks in. You see a kid go down, and your first initial react is, thought is what's happening. And then you get over there and you realize that, this young man's not breathing anymore. And so then just the training kicks in. Everybody has to do a CPR training as a coach, and you've got to do classes online about AEDs, and so that training just kind of kicked in, and luckily we were able to save this young man's life.
Coach, one of the things that stood out to me when I was watching last night was the reactions of his teammates and just the distraught and the panic, and you saw it on their faces. I'm curious, in your situation, how did you deal with kind of the aftermath of probably a lot of kids being scared after that?
It was as I talked to my wife last night as we watched the film, or the highlights of it, because we were actually traveling coming back from Florida, it was surprising to me, and I remarked to her, I said, it's everybody just standing there watching is surprising, because I know when that happened to us, I moved everybody to the other side of the gym just so nobody was there watching. CPR. You give CPR to another person. That's a difficult thing to watch. Mm-hmm. And so I did remark how interesting that was. But those are grown men. I mean, they've seen a lot in their lives, and they understand. So, and that's their brother. For me, trying to deal with high school kids, I tried to keep them as far away as I possibly could, so they didn't see it up close and personal. Mm-hmm. And you still deal with that residual after the fact. The next day it was tough conversations. For us, by the time we got to the hospital and a couple hours later, Hunter was better, and, he was able to be up and take visitors. That made it a lot easier, but I could only imagine in the moment how they felt.
So I obviously he survived that event. How was he doing after that happened?
He's doing well. I mean, he was not able to play sports in high school. I believe he was able to play baseball maybe his senior year.
Yeah.
Like I said, he has a defibrillator in his chest that he routinely has to go to Vanderbilt at least once a year for.
Huh.
But, he's doing well. Family's doing well. He's got a good job. I mean, good grief. That was 11 years ago, so he's 25 now. So, he's doing really well for his, for what's going on with him, and that I'm very proud of.
Man, I remember being overseas, and I always used to call back and check in with Chad, and more so than check in, tell him to send me stuff.
Chad Newman?
Yeah, Chad Newman, the trainer at Tennessee.
Been there forever.
Yeah, and I remember I'm talking to him, and he was like, man, your boy's a hero. I'm like, who? He was like, Higgs. Man, what Higgs done, man? That's just what the hell Higgs done. So, man, he told me the story, and I reached out immediately. That was big time, man. But let me ask you this, Higgs. Moving on to coaching, and now it's been years removed, do you approach it differently now with conditioning and things of that nature? Is that always in the back of your mind, or you still try to coach the exact same?
It's always going to be in the back of your mind, but as a coach, you've got to understand that it wasn't anything that I did.
Right.
That caused his episode, and so you've got to constantly fight that battle. Am I pushing him too hard, or am I not pushing him hard enough? Because that's coaching.
Yeah.
That's coaching, and when coaching young men nowadays, you really got to walk a fine line between what's acceptable and what's not anymore. What's too hard and what's not hard enough. Mm-hmm. And that's a real fine line you have to walk. But we make sure that we constantly have an AED around. Like I said, all my coaches, they need to take CPR at some point, just to make sure that I'm not the only guy there that knows what's going on. And, because of Hunter's episode and everything else, there are AEDs now in every gym.
Yeah.
Very accessible to just about every place in a high school. Even if you're out on the track, there's AEDs down there now. So, because of that episode, there's a lot more help, closer AEDs to help kids that ever experience that type of situation again.
Props to you, man. Thanks for sharing that story. I know lots of people can relate, have had situations like that they know about. So appreciate you hopping on for sure.
Yes, thank you.
John Higgins, former Tennessee basketball player, played at the same time as Ron Slay.
Walked in together, walked out together.
That's right, in Knoxville. Head coach at Science Hill. I got to know, first week after knowing Ron Slay, you've known Slay for a week. What do you think about that guy at that point?
You really want to know my first thought?
I was going to say, be honest.
I want to know your thoughts now, too.
Right.
I mean, it takes a while to warm up to this guy, right?
No. As personality-wise, Ron's great. My first initial thoughts were, how can a man with a body like that be so athletic? It's unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
He's still got these little bitty legs, man.
Do you know that he said he's bringing sexy back in a few days?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My boy can believe that.
He's been saying that since 1999.
These words came out of his mouth on the radio. This spring is the spring of baby oil.
I'm spreading it out, Higgs. I'm coming back with it, baby. Tank tops and baby oil, baby.
Listen, you stay in Nashville with that. We don't want to see that over here in Johnson City.
Hey, was it hard to find shots with Slay on the court?
I love Ron, my guy. We roomed together every time we went on the road.
Yeah, 4 years, baby.
But yeah, when he was a senior, especially, it was the Ron Slay show. He wasn't MVP of the SEC for nothing. So Ron got his shots up his senior year, but I'm glad for my boy, man.
Hey, man, glad you're doing well. It's good checking in with you. Good to hear your voice, and thanks for hopping on.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
All right,
Appreciate
John
it.
Higgins at Science Hill now.
Yeah, man, getting it done up there. Getting it done.
Was that Farragut? Was that Central?
Was that Central? Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Higgs. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, take care. Thanks, guys. Happy
Oh,
New
yeah,
Year.
You want happy
You
New
too.
Year.
John Higgins.
That's my dude, man. That lets you know, though, that puts you behind the scenes when you see a guy go down the way he did, Hamlin did, and you see regardless of the room you're in, secondary, corners, linebacker, like it's an immediate reaction. You spend so much time together. You know what I'm saying? On the road, going to eat with them. Like it was different. I remember senior night, us hugging before running out the tunnel. Like we the last ones left.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that bond
You
is
two
built.
were from that class?
From that class, the last two. You know what I'm saying? One went to the league, two had to transfer. So many other things, but it was different, man. That's pretty dope. So you can only imagine the bond and thinking that a guy has to run back out there and play again without knowing their brother's okay. That's difficult.
Listen, John Higgins hit some big threes for Tennessee.
No question. He started since a freshman. Not many people can say that.
I loved the perspective of the first thing he did was get all the kids away from the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But and he's right too, though, talking about the different age as well. I mean, if you've seen, like, I worked in local news in Wilmington, North Carolina, which means I carried the camera. I was on call overnight. I saw numerous times where CPR was given. It sticks with you every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was interesting to me that he made sure that those kids weren't right there. But you're talking about grown men here in the NFL. At that point, I mean, that player was the only important thing there. So, you know what else stood out to me about that? And it's obviously different, but we were talking about T. Higgins needing prayers as well. But what stood out to me was, Slay, you asked a great question. Does that stay in your mind? Because it was during conditioning, like preseason conditioning.
Yep.
So it's almost like he was the one who saved Hunter's life, but he was also, the T. Higgins in the situation. Yep. And so, he said, I think about it, but I had to realize that it wasn't what I did that caused it, and that's where T. Higgins needs to be. It's not what he did that caused it,
Totally.
So that stood out to me. That was a great question by you on that.
Here's the thing: you're going to see quotes from T. Higgins that are going to sound like he's okay. No way.
Yeah, no. It's gonna be a long process.
Yeah. So the Chucky Mullins story we'll get to in just a little bit, and a lot of y'all, if you follow college football closely enough, understand that there's a player every year that wears the Chucky Mullins number at Ole Miss. It's a very special thing. But the guy that hit him lives in Nashville. His name's Brad Gaines. He played at Vanderbilt, and he has dealt with this his entire life. Goes every Christmas. Mike Organ had the story in Tennessee, and great work by Mike to reach Brad in a painful situation. But we'd go to his grave and clean it, pull the weeds, say prayers every year.
There's an amazing SEC Network documentary on it as well.
Yes.
That's true. All right, 615-737-1045. We will get to that story. Coach Mike in Nashville. Coach Mike, what's up?
Hey, thank you, fellas. Ron, this is the old coach that I call in and brag about your post defense back in the day.
Post-D!
Yeah.
That's right.
He didn't tell about that part.
Get that knee.
Exactly. I'm not going to slam on you. I always appreciated how you played, but when I was at Lipscomb, I guess 12 years ago, Good Pasture girls came over to play us in high school, and Coach Spann had a heart attack. He was the Good Pasture coach, and he died out on our court. And fortunately, we had just put those defibrillators in, and they literally brought him back to life at halftime of that game.
Wow.
And I think the city initiated that requirement after that for all the schools, I believe. I might be wrong about that. He's also the same coach that got shot in church. He was preaching down in Antioch a few years ago. That made worldwide news.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's Joey Spann, and we coached together at Ezo Harding a million years ago, and then he went to Good Pasture. I was at Lipscomb, and then we kind of finished our career together at Nashville Christian. But that we had the defibrillator right there, and three medical people from Good Pasture happened to be there, and 3 from Lipscomb, and they descended down on him, and like a group in a ER, they brought him back to life on that court in front of everybody, and he's still alive today. But anyway, I just want to tell that story, and because I thought about that all through the night after what happened last night. But anyway. All right, man. Thank you all for
sharing that, Coach Mike. 615-737-1045 at 3HL1045. Rashad Weaver, Titans defensive end, teammates with Damar Hamlin. They were in the same draft class. great friends. Rashad Weaver had locker
Pittsburgh.
room availability, yes, at Pittsburgh in college. He had locker room availability today. We'll play some of that for you next. 3HL 104.5 The Zone. Want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Jewelry, Zayla Amamali, Brandon Amamali, all the guys over at Brentwood Jewelry are awesome, and they are ready to help you out in all of your gifting responsibilities because think about it. You've got Valentine's Day coming up. You've got Mother's Day coming up. You got all kinds of days coming up. And they'll be able to help you throughout the year. They can be your jeweler on call, basically. It's also the time for the perfect proposal. Brentwood Jewelry is here to help you pop the question. Let them help you take stress out of selecting the perfect engagement ring. They can help you find a beautiful ring in your ideal budget. Browse their incredible selection of one-of-a-kind rings or talk with their custom design specialist to create a stunning ring as remarkable as your loved one. Did you know that only 1 in 4 men involves their partner when purchasing an engagement ring, and nearly a third of women say they would prefer to help pick it out? So bring her by the store. New hours. Brentwood Jewelry has new hours for 2023 starting January 2nd or now. Brentwood Jewelry will be closed on Sunday and Monday. They want to be able to spend more time with their family in the coming years. They think that's important to them, and that's what they're going to do. So they are still open regular hours Tuesday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturdays 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and always a phone call away or a click at BrentwoodJewelry.com. 7012 Church Street, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for more than 50 years. Visit BrentwoodJewelry.com.
What's happening, people? And listen to me, man. We're talking about hair. This Ron Slay got to fill you in on a couple things. Guys, if you got a full head of hair, well, congratulations to you. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Now, you want to know the least attractive or what polls say is the least attractive? Well, it's the hair loss. Now, no amount of success, cars, houses, whatever you think, money, they don't believe that that's the end all be all. And as far as leaving the first impression and the greatest impression, well, that's hair. It doesn't have to be that way, man. If that's the case for you, Advanced Hair is finally available in Nashville with a quick one-day solution to your hair loss. Advanced Hair could help you look 10 to 20 years younger. Yes, indeed. No more expensive pills, special shampoos, just your very own natural hair guaranteed to grow. For life, too, that is. This breakthrough treatment is finally available right here. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to grow? Yeah, the very next day. Call 629-348-HAIR for your free consultation and get $500 off. 629-348-HAIR or advancedhair.com.
3HL 104.5 The Zone. Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, Ron Slay. Coach Mac's going to end up on a mic if he sticks around a little bit longer.
Let him hang long enough. We're going to put Mac a mic and some headphones. He don't even need headphones.
How about his
though.
frogs in the national championship game?
Yeah, I've been telling him frogs. My little hand don't do it right, though.
I don't think
my index
you have
finger
a little hand.
My index finger up a little too high.
You're about to flick people off, is what you're about to do.
Yeah. That's it right there.
That looks like a bat.
So why am I trying to do it like up here?
Because you're wrong, he said. Slay looks like a bat.
That is what it looks like.
Look how long Dawn's fingers are. She terrifies me. Oh, hello. That finger's especially long.
I am so glad that she's off camera with that hand.
That's because she play volleyball. That's right, man.
Dawn's all dressed up because we're going to dinner.
We're going to dinner tonight.
And no, it ain't. We about to do it. It's almost a year.
Oh,
all right, I ain't gonna say
we're
nothing.
due for a Mac dinner.
I ain't gonna say nothing.
Where y'all going?
I ain't gonna say nothing.
Where are we going? I don't even know.
Craig Nance.
Stony.
Text me, Craig.
I know where we're going. Can we say?
We know who can pull him out the
Stony
house.
River?
We know who can pull Mac
We're
out the
allowed
house.
to
Craig,
say, right?
text
We
me.
don't have any other.
Go there on, text me.
We're going with our Spring Hill Heating and Cooling guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Stony River.
Boy, we just put everything out there. That's
right.
what we do right
That's
here.
why Mike and Coach Mac Mike on.
That's why.
Come on, Coach.
Spring
Come
Hill
on in.
Heating and Cooling. That would be a nice dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Order some salmon and bring it back to me in a bag tomorrow. Since I'm gonna be on with y'all.
Here's fish in the bag, Coach.
Just fish in the bag. Thanks.
That'll smell good.
I just want to come in here and see y'all in person.
Hey, man. Happy
We
New
love
Year,
you, Coach.
Frog. His TCU boys are playing for the national title on Monday against Georgia. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3:20.
I've already talked to Matt Murphy. Apparently, Murphy's wanting to get him on the show at some point in time for a little Georgia TCU talk.
Oh.
Yeah, he
Oh.
should. He should. Matt Murphy, our
Coach
buddy
Mac
at
will just
WTN.
dominate Matt Murphy.
Think so?
Yeah.
Coach Mac, Craig just text me. That's what I'm talking about. My boy always comes. I got us on deck, baby.
What are you talking about?
Hey, a little insider right there.
Look at him. Ron Slade just getting things done. You know how it
Slay's
goes.
got all kinds of inside things.
I mean,
You can't talk about this. You can't talk about how he got Higgins his nickname.
You up? See?
he just set up a dinner for him and Coach Mac.
Yeah, baby. Line them up.
Line him up. I know what that means.
All right, Mac.
As
He
a,
only
as a
drinks the
brown
good
water.
stuff.
I was just going to say, that's
Who
a
you
brown
telling?
water
Who
dinner? Is that
who
what
you
that
telling,
is?
boy?
Coach Mac. And
I know.
here's how Coach Mac rolls. He'll go to the bar, like you're going to dinner, he'll go to the bar, order a damn bottle and put it on
It
the
don't
table.
stop. Like, it don't stop. Like,
like-
you stop pointing this stuff, and
Some
I'm
people
like,
order
come on,
like
Mac.
4 bourbons and waters or whatever. He just gets the bottle.
Hey, man, you go in there to a dinner with Mac and don't eat for 2 days before. I'm talking about be cleansed. Go through a cleanse and everything because he going to bring it to you. He going to bring it to you. I know it. I've seen it. I experienced it. A Mac night.
That's why he wanted it again.
You better believe it.
All right, you can watch the show live, Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch.
Twitch, please.
Got 110 people currently in the YouTube feed with
What up,
25
y'all?
likes. We need more than that.
Yeah, that ain't right. Like us.
I mean, all you got to do is, like, while you're listening and watching, just click your little mouse
It's a little thumb.
on the little thumbs up.
Let's hit the thumb.
The one that's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really appreciate John Higgins' appearance on the show.
Yeah, good dude, man.
That was a good idea to get him to tell the story about, staying calm in the moment.
Saving a life.
Yeah, and just leaning on the training.
Yeah. Yeah.
But last night, the NFL wanted to keep going. 5-minute window and then keep playing. And my problem is, we can get into it a little bit later, and we were talking about this on our text stream last night. There's no way they didn't know that man's heart stopped on the field when they made the decision to initially, everybody get 5 minutes and then we're going to keep playing. I mean, are you
Joe
kidding
Buck
me
said
right
they
now?
did CPR for 9 minutes,
Yeah.
which means
Yeah.
everybody knew that.
Yeah.
The NFL knew that.
So thank God that 2 head coaches came across the field and talked and had that stopped. They didn't need to play that game last night.
Yeah, and I don't think it was no way that regardless if they did say 5 minutes warm, I don't think it was any way you could go out there. I think what was And
NFL, by the way, is denying that. So.
Yeah, and I was going to say no defense to the NFL, but I'm thinking that it automatically came to them as, okay, this situation is about to be under control. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't.
Actually,
first of all, you can't fathom this.
They're not denying it unless I missed that. But what they did say, the NFLPA did say that they didn't communicate with the booth. But like Joe Buck and those guys, they can get that news from anywhere.
Yep.
But they really, I mean, here's the problem. There's so many moving pieces. Right? And the people that need to know first are, I mean, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but it's not the broadcast team.
No.
And it's not those people. So even you could see the equipment staff packing things up eventually during the coverage, and you could see you know Joe Buck would say we don't have the official word yet. So
that's right. It's like you don't call the field goal good until you see the official call it good.
Exactly. But I think for the NFL, I'm not sure that necessarily there was really a 5-minute thing. I think it was, let's stop, look at the situation, make sure that all of the people in the know need to be in the know when we decide what's going on. You know, I think there's probably more to it that could have been like okay, here we go. This is normally, this is in our book of what we would do.
Yeah.
Whereas this is an unprecedented situation.
What's odd about that, though, is right after they said that, they showed Joe Burrow picked up a football and started throwing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there were several players on the Bills sideline that gathered the team around. Lisa Salter, Stephon Diggs, who was bawling 2 seconds before, was one of them. So absolutely, that was what was sent down. But I'm not sure that ever was really. I mean, who knows? We'll never know, honestly.
Right.
But regardless, props to Coach Taylor, Coach McDermott, and those men leading in an unfathomable situation that there's no rule book or guideline for. Props to them for saying,
for sure,
there's no way that we can't play this.
Yeah,
game.
Lisa Salters did an amazing job, and we'll give you a little backstory on that as to maybe something you haven't thought about as to how that's an amazing job. And Dawn's been there. We'll do that when we come back. Also, we didn't get to Rashad Weaver. We will when we come back. Stay tuned for that. Rashad Weaver played with Damar Hamlin at Pittsburgh. They were in the same draft class. He got emotional in the locker room today, obviously, and we'll play that for you next. 3HL 104.5 The Zone.
What in the world's going on the morning show?
I have no.
They're talking about
idea.
tequila at 6 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah, I guess people want to get wired up.
Right.
Well, on our show.
Oh, hey, speaking of wired up.
Here you go. Changes are coming, Babsy, and you got to be prepared for it. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling can bring it to you.
Yes, maybe you didn't know, new regulations coming soon that it could increase the price of replacing an older HVAC system that you have by over 20%. I mean, we're always talking about inflation. Well, guess what? These guidelines, they're coming. You need to act now.
Yeah, and they offer 18 months, no payments. You can look in today's price and lock it in, not have to pay until spring of 2024. That's a whole year, Babsy.
Oh, that helps. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Call our friends over there. Or you could get up to $1,500 off your new HVAC. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, always backed by 10-year parts and labor warranty on York products. And they're also a York certified comfort expert company.
And Babsy also told you, make sure you contact them, and those service calls that you will get and reach out to them for to come fix something. It's free, man. Repairs plus low monthly payments on those repairs, available anytime at springhillac.com.
Call them.
Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Joe Hunk with the Titans playing on Saturday. That means that today is day one of the injury reports, and the Titans just released theirs. Now, Devontae Harris is the only player for the Titans that did not practice today. The following players were limited: Terrell Basham, Dylan Cole, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, MPF, Big Jeff. Those were the limited. Now, as far as the players that were full participants, you'll like these names. Now, Josh Thompson was full participant from concussion, which means he is moving through concussion protocol. But Danico Autry, Derrick Henry, both also full participants. And tonight, full slate of sports throughout the state of Tennessee. Mississippi State is in Knoxville playing Tennessee. That game tips off at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. South Carolina is down the street at Vandy at 6 o'clock. You can watch that on SEC Network. And the Preds are hosting the Montreal Canadiens at 7. You can watch that on Bally Sports South. For all your foundation repair waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Vols, the flagship station for your Tennessee Titans, and home to 3HL. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back into 3HL on 104.5 The Zone, baby. We are back live and direct on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday. And you got to understand, man, that it is a lot going on and a lot that we're trying to work through. And we are happy to help you with that and help ourselves move and navigate through this, man. One thing we said that we were going to do. Welcome back, yo.
We're not laughing at this story at all.
Not at all. If you're on
I
Zone
almost
TV.
fell trying to get in my chair.
Well, that's your
Let's get back into character.
Come on, man. Rashad Weaver.
Okay, there is really no way to transition to
Yeah, there
that.
is.
From,
Yeah, there is.
from
Watch
the
this.
laughing.
We're professionals here at
My
3HL.
dog got us.
Latest on the situation with Damar Hamlin, in all seriousness, heartbeat restored on the field after cardiac arrest. He is in critical condition in intensive care. He is sedated. That is the current situation with Damar Hamlin. Now, Rashad Weaver for the Titans played with Damar Hamlin at Pittsburgh in college. They were close friends, are close friends. Rashad Weaver met with the media, got emotional today in the locker room.
I mean, we didn't just play together. We're friends, teammates. I've known him now for 7 years. We both signed to Pitt 2016, same year. Both left for the draft 2020 or whenever it was, same year. And that's the guy I talk to, whether it be on social media, text, Snapchat, Twitter, anything, at least probably once a week, constantly just sit telling each other how we see each other doing our thing each week, playing. And, he has his own little clothing brand called Chasing M's. That's about, chasing your dreams and chasing millions. That's everybody's goal in a lot of things in life is reaching your dreams and getting millions and take care of your family. I have my own dream, G2R, our own brand, and we just always interact and tell each other to keep going.
Oh, man.
Their brotherhood, man.
And it's interesting. Like, Dawn said she stayed up late watching the coverage. I did, too. To get the latest news on what's going on with Damar and hoping that you're going to get the news that, like, they've woken him up and that he's good. Obviously, that didn't come last night, but the Bills did release a statement around 2 in the morning, which kept me up till 3, kind of following this. But as broadcast people, we like to kind of see how things are covered and see how things are handled. I mentioned Lisa Salters. Okay. It's one thing to watch her reporting and balance emotion with trying to tell you the story as facts are given. One thing you need to consider when you watch someone do that job in such a serious situation as this one was and how it unfolded over an extended period of time, she is hearing so much information, and she's got to be careful with what she goes with. And you know that, Dawn, from being down on the sideline, and you have to make decisions, split-second decisions on what to say and what not to say.
Because you have to protect, at least I've always been like this too. Now, I obviously, needless to say, I've never been in this kind of situation, but even with serious injuries, you have to protect those players and family members and all of that with information that you get that maybe they don't have yet.
Right.
And you have to make sure that you're protecting that as well. You know, there's a balance. And, you know, it's interesting you bring that up too, Mayor, because I thought Lisa Salters was amazing in the job that she did. And I had sent you guys a tweet last night from Seton O'Connor.
That one surprised me.
Yeah, and this is what the tweet said: anchors and reporters are employed to deliver the news, not their own emotions. People tonight are doing it very right and very, very wrong. Well, if you stayed up late and you watched Lisa Salters and her live reports with Scott Van Pelt, and you watched Ryan Clark, and you saw the emotion, everything is wrong with his take, because you have to remember too that these reporters that are there to do a job, and these anchors that are there to do the job, and what Lisa Salters probably knew and saw was way more than what she was reporting. And
that's why I want to
they're
make that
humans
point, so people
too.
Understand that. Yeah, human.
They're humans too. And I can't tell you, I mean, there's numerous times that you guys know, I fall in love with some of these kids these players that I get to know their stories and talk to them prior to games, or, you know, see their injuries or hear their injury report or their injury histories and how they've come back and all of that. And I get emotional talking to them because that's the part of the job that I love. Like, there is, yes, you have to be professional when you're reporting on this, but you're human too. And you're doing this job because you love this game. You love this sport. You love the stories and the passion and everything that goes into it. And you're human too. And you end up, you know, really loving these players and these teams and these coaches and these franchises. And at the end of the day, you're human too. And you just watched a young man basically leave us on the football field, in something that is, for a lot of us, our form of escapism.
Yeah.
That's what sports is. This is where a lot of us go to escape.
Yep.
And you just watch that form of escapism blend now together with life and death. And to his tweet, to sit there and say, you know, oh, well, your job is to just deliver the news and not emotion. No, absolutely not. This is an unprecedented life and death situation. I want to see your emotion because I get it. That helps me to understand the gravity of what's going on. And that's what makes a good reporter and a good anchor and a good broadcast person, is taking you there in the moment. And that moment was so big and so devastating. And I thought that especially Lisa and Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark did such a good job of making sure everybody understood that this is more than just a game.
Spot on, Babsy. I love what you just said.
So it's, I mean, there were certainly some dumb takes that floated out there.
Like that's the most difficult thing. I think when you hit it on the head when you say we use sports and most definitely music to take us away from what's going on in reality. You know what I'm saying? So just
collided.
Yeah, without question. Like, we just lost a friend of mine, a dear friend, Willie Taylor, legend Nashville, to waiting on things to come back to find out exactly what it was. But I believe it to be something similar to this. And you get away from the reality, not having to deal with death and things of that nature, because you get to engulf yourself in this. Like, this is what I'm looking forward to. This is my basketball sanctuary. You know what I'm saying? This is my court. But seeing that happen and the world stop, it automatically take you back to what you were trying to leave behind, and it blends right to it. And you start thinking about all the things that you've encountered just in reality, and you've been able to mask and cover up through sports. You know what I'm saying? So that's huge. And then you don't know what players, coaches, fans dealing with in that stadium, along with the viewers watching. You don't know what Lisa's watching. I mean, what she's dealing with while she's reporting. Like Maya said, being given this information, it could have been anything to trigger something, and she break down. So it's, hey, man.
Well, and I know that, here's the deal. I know that she was there when his mom came down.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she probably watched all of that.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before.
Yeah.
When somebody's getting into an ambulance and you're watching the parents come out of the crowd to go join. I've seen that. And you see that emotion. And the incidents where I've seen that wasn't life or death.
Right.
You know,
And it was still really emotional.
Really emotional and terrifying and just all of those things. So I know that Lisa watched all of that. I know that she saw those parents, you know, his mom, who they waited for the ambulance for her to get in. I know that Lisa saw all of that. She saw firsthand, she felt on the sideline those players and how they reacted to what they saw. I mean, how if you aren't emotional in that, like I was emotional watching on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know this young man personally,
Right.
you know?
Dude, when he stood up
Like I can't imagine being there.
and stood there for a few seconds and then fell down, you knew, man,
You knew.
that this is different.
Yeah.
This is just different. 615-737-1045 if you want in. The only player in the NFL to die on the field was a guy named Chuck Hughes in 1971 for the Detroit Lions. I found this story. In the fourth quarter of a game between the Lions and the Bears during the NFL's 1971 season, the Lions were trying to come back from a 28-23 deficit. After a big play, the Lions offense was at the Bears' 37-yard line. Hughes, who ran a decoy route down the field, was jogging back to the huddle before he collapsed to the ground, clutching his chest near the 20-yard line. He died of a heart attack.
71?
1971, yeah.
Wow.
A postmortem revealed that Hughes was suffering from advanced arteriosclerosis, which was undiagnosed. The official cause of death was a coronary thrombosis, a heart attack that cuts off blood supply to the heart. So, yeah, there you go.
Well, and you look at that was 71 too. There's so many physicals and tests and you know, screenings and scans put in place to avoid things like that nowadays. Colleges and professional.
Yeah, they sued.
Even high school.
$21.5 million lawsuit in 1971 for not getting that diagnosed. I think Kevin in Hopkinsville wants to talk about that story. Kevin, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I was watching the game last night, and I was, thoroughly upset about, the incidents, about what happened on the field. That, I'm glad the NFL did the right thing in stopping the game. I had a question actually for Mr. Slay and Miss Dawn. We, like y'all were saying earlier, we often look at sports as a release from everything else. You were both athletes. Did you all ever think, because I know, Slay, you remember what happened with Hank Gathers, who died at the free throw line. Have you ever thought to yourself when you went onto that court or went onto the field that you might not be walking off?
Yeah.
Never.
I
never thought that.
I never thought that because I thought it would hinder my play, but I always used to, ever since Brandon Knight, I always tell the story, Brandon Knight went up for a regular layup, to block a shot. Brevin on Corey Alexander. Brandon Knight went to block it. We were playing in the G League, and he went to block a regular jump. Both of them landed normal, and his leg snapped in half right in front of our bench. And that was gruesome. But to go back, finish that game, get in the shower, hurry up and get to the hospital, talk to him, and him letting us know everything was going to be cool. Ever since then, I used to always pray. But after that, I started to pray and say, this was like 2004, 2005, I would be like, man, just let me be healthy and walk away from this game after it's over. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't never think about that during the game, because if you do, you're defeated. You can't go out there and play.
Yeah.
No, you can't do it.
Now, I also didn't play a physical contact kind of sport.
Right. Yeah, but
So
you
mine's a little
can't.
different.
You can't.
But no.
So this Hughes story in 1971, he was taken off the field on an ambulance, later pronounced dead. They did finish that game in 1971. So a little bit different.
It's no
deal there.
way I can play a game without getting the thumbs up. There's no way I can play the game. If Brandon Knight, when he was getting taken off on the stretcher, when we walked over there to him and told us to go on and finish it, it's no way we would have finished that game.
My guess
after the
is-
game, we were in the shower crying. Grown men.
Yeah.
My
guess
guess
is-
is just crying.
My guess is that's how the thumbs up started. It wasn't to the crowd necessarily. It was to teammates.
Yeah, like,
hey,
we all right.
y'all go get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't. That ain't
We never got that last night. So
I'm telling you.
615-737-1045. You want in? We have an open segment, next segment, if you want to chat about this story. Again, prayers up for Damar Hamlin, his family, teammates, friends, all the lives he has touched. His book drive that he wanted $2,500 for, up over $3.3 million last time I looked this morning.
Over 4 now.
Over $4 million now. Unreal. All right, we'll be back. More on this story next. 3HL 1045 The Zone.
It's Tuesday, people, and a lot of people are like, hey, you know what? That's the day after Monday. You'd be right. Or maybe it's the day before Wednesday. You'd be right again. But the main thing is, it's 69-cent wings. Where? Still, I got wings. That's where. 3961 Nolensville Pike. That is the location. 123 Ewing Drive is the next location. Don't forget, they are in White House, 2500. All right, there. I'm going to have to get that for you. I don't know the exact address. Just know it's over there, man. Just smell. Just roll your window down, put your nose out the window, and smell, and it'll take you right there to in White House, and you can get some strikeout wings. 69-cent wings today, the home of Sweet and Sassy. Don't pass it up, man. Go in there and tell them you want the Ron Slay. That's the Sweet and Sassy. Lemon pepper drizzle with the Cajun Ranch fries with the cheese on top. If you get Cajun Ranch fries with no cheese on top, that ain't the Ron Slay. It's like getting me to go play a game with no headband. It's silly. That ain't me. Don't do it. Go get the real Ron Slay at the Steel I Got Wings.
3HL 104.5 The Zone, walking through the tragic event last night. Damar Hamlin in the hospital. Bills safety. Looked like an innocuous kind of hit. I mean, good catch, good hit. Gets up, falls down. Suffered cardiac arrest. Heartbeat restored on the field.
Yep.
A defib used. CPR used. Oxygen used. And they had to sedate him, to intubate him, and that's where we are. The NFL did announce today the game will not be played this week. So that's where we are. 615-737-1045. Titans met with the media today. Kevin Byard with a few words. We'll play for you in just a second. But let's go back to the phones. Cousin Danny in the borough next up on 3HL. Danny, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. How are we all doing today?
Hey, we're good.
Bit of a somber one. Not as fun and raucous as most phone calls between us are always going to be. But I just wanted to call and say a few quick things. The Bengals and the Bills have, between our two fan bases, had just a really fun past 6 or 7 years. The rest of the NFL might not know all of this, but back before Joe Burrow and Super Bowl runs and first-round picks and whatnot, the Bengals were still winning a couple of football games with Andy Dalton under center, and there was a time before the Bills were an AFC powerhouse where they needed the Bengals to help beat someone so that they could make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And that ended up happening, and thus was launched a really fun, like bro-nection between Bills fans and Bengals fans. And every year since then, there's been times where the Bengals needed the Bills to knock someone off and vice versa. And our fan bases have a really large Twitter presence where we just come together and have fun. We talk about drinking beer and smashing tables and beating the Steelers and the Ravens. It's kind of what we do. Last night when before the game started, same fun as every NFL game normally has. But I have lots of family in Cincinnati still, and they were calling me as all of the craziness was unfolding on the field, and as the ambulance was leaving the stadium. And this is something that my cousin told me that was just haunting, and I thought that it bared being shared with my friends here in Nashville. But right before the injury, they put on the Jumbotron that there was just under 70,000 people in that stadium. And my cousin, who has not missed a home Bengals game in over 15 years, said that they could hear the sirens from that ambulance inside the stadium from the time it left to the time it parked in the hospital parking lot 5 minutes later. That's how quiet it was in there. And I would just like to say, as a Bengals fan, mad respect to Zach Taylor and the way that he stood his ground and doing what was right for the players on the field and for his brothers across on the other side of the field. Big hats off to both teams and the way that they handled and composed themselves, and of course the medical staff. And just from someone who's never cared more about anything than his family and the Bengals winning football games. I told it to Moan in the chat not too long back, but I'd trade every 11 wins the Bengals have this year to make sure that young man's going to be all right. And I don't think that any Bengals fan in the world really cares what the outcome of this game is. We're all just worried about our friend.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. 615-737-1045. Kenny the mailman next up on 3HL. Kenny.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, we're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we got you, Kenny.
Oh, okay. Just a couple of quick comments. First and foremost, the best Christmas gift we received, my dear wife of 38 years, Babette, earned the label cancer-free after a year.
Yay!
Congratulations.
We've really learned what the word thankful means through that. We thought we knew before then, but we haven't. Through surgeries and chemotherapy, she's doing very, very well.
That's great news.
Yes, it is. If you ever heard anything I've ever said, please hear this. We see, Southern lost last night, and it shocked us because it was live and on TV. But every one of us, we're not guaranteed to walk into the door that we left this morning.
That's right.
Never leave anything unsaid.
That's
Tell
right.
people that you love them. Tell your coworkers they're important. Tell people, anyone that's ever been kind to you, return the kindness. It'll help you if anything ever happens. And if anything happens to someone that knows you, it'll help them remember you. So I appreciate that. And Ron, Jack has developed a good relationship with you. You're always on the phone, but he said he wants to sit down and eat lunch with you sometime when you visit him.
Most definitely. That's my guy, man. I appreciate you raising a nice one, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey,
Salute to you,
we
too.
love y'all.
Thank you, Kenny.
Y'all made my days a lot better.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Prayers up for you
Thanks,
and your
Kenny.
wife, man. That's awesome. Awesome news.
That's great news.
615-737-1045. Kevin Byard, talking to the media today, said he went through this with his mom. Very thankful for the medical personnel.
I just dealt with that this offseason. My mom, she went under cardiac arrest. And so I understand the seriousness and, the critical condition that he's in. And I pray that the fact that the medical staff was actually in the ambulance was already at the stadium, will help save this man's life. I think this is bigger than football. This is about a young man fighting for his life. So definitely my thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. And we, obviously we addressed it as a team and, guys kind of, spoke how they thought about it and everything. It's just a crazy situation. Something I've never seen playing football, especially not in the NFL. It's just crazy.
Mayor of Murfreesboro also talking about how no one playing the game thinks this is going to happen, man.
I don't think anybody that plays this game goes into a game thinking life or death, literally. But we definitely understand the seriousness of the injuries that can happen, especially usually thinking more long term. But, to see something like that just gives you a reminder, I've been blessed to be able to play this game for as long as I have and to be as healthy as I've been. And I don't take that for granted. That's why I do so much recovery and do so much different things just because of just the dangers of this game. But nobody can prepare for anything that happened last night.
Definitely true. We were talking about the broadcast. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, phenomenal. Lisa Salters, phenomenal. They go to Susie Colbert and Boog and
Schefter.
And Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter did a great job.
I thought he handled it well. I thought there were times where I think Susie was put in a really hard, tough position, and I thought Schefter really helped out.
I think he helped her out too.
Mm-hmm.
That is not. I can't imagine.
No, that's tough
because you're just thrown into that situation,
and nobody's telling you.
And there's no new news.
Anything. There's no news. There's no, hey, we're going to go to this live shot. Or not. You are there on an island having to talk about something that is just unthinkable.
Over and over and over and over, yeah.
Ugh. Man, I thought they did a really good job.
So let's go to SVP, who comes on with SportsCenter. They totally scrapped their entire broadcast, obviously. They go 75 minutes. He has Ryan Clark there.
Yep.
And I know a lot of y'all get worked up over opinions and things like that, but that's all they are, and we all have them. So, I always say if we all agreed on everything, it'd be a boring world. So Ryan Clark and his opinions might rub you the wrong way sometime, but that guy as a broadcaster and as a measured thinker is phenomenal. The job he did last night. At one point, he told Scott Van Pelt he was placing praise on Scott Van Pelt and the job that he was doing, which he deserved.
Yep.
That was phenomenal work.
He thanked him.
He said
for the emotion, basically.
Yes, and he said, Ryan Clark said, "I believe that I'm here tonight for a reason." Because he's seen bad things happen to him on the football field.
He almost died.
And he was so eloquent last night. And he was emotional, Seton O'Connor.
Yes.
And it was perfect.
Yep.
And
it was real.
Here's about 3.5 minutes of Ryan Clark last night talking about how no player's ever prepared for this. Certainly not prepared in terms of handling it.
All I can say, looking at the faces of all those players, thinking about my reaction, listening to you even try to answer or trying to pose this question to me, Eves, is that we were not ready for this. We were not prepared for this. When you decided to prepare for this show and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and talk about the Buffalo Bills, you were ready to talk about Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. You were ready to talk about these great defenses. You were not ready to talk about a 24-year-old young man possibly losing his life. And I said this on the phone tonight in my room, talking to Marcus Spears. I said at 24, I didn't even know I could die. And this young man is faced with that, playing a game he loves. We're not emotionally equipped to handle this, right? Like we're struggling to do a job talking about what happened to Damar Hamlin tonight. And so imagine being his teammate. Imagine spending more time with Damar Hamlin than you do your own family. Sean McDermott sees Damar Hamlin more than he sees his own children, more than he sees his own wife during this time. These are all men that spend time together, growing together, making sure that one another is all right, doing whatever you have to do for your brother. And you are now put in the hopeless position of being absolutely helpless. There is nothing that anyone in a Bills uniform, nothing that anyone in a Bills hat can do to help Damar Hamlin. And you have to live with that. As a man who has built himself up both emotionally, mentally, physically, to be the baddest dude in the world, whenever asked to be the baddest dude in the world, you have somebody you genuinely love and you can't do anything to help him. You have to watch as he can't even breathe for himself. That's not what we're prepared to deal with, Eves. I've seen ACLs. I've seen broken legs. I've seen dudes' face masks get cut off their helmets and they get strapped down the tables, and I'm thinking and waiting for the thumbs up because I know if you give me the thumbs up, at least you're okay enough. Damar Hamlin couldn't do any of those things. And he's 24 years old. He woke up to play a game. For him, this was just about going out and living a dream, right? He started 14 games this year. He didn't think he'd be in this position, but it's all he's ever wanted to do. And you're getting that opportunity on prime time. And I've played this sport, Ease. All you ever think about is the good stuff. No one ever visualizes the bad. But I've also been laying in the hospital bed when Troy comes to the hospital and just cries with me for 2 hours because he doesn't know if I'm ever going to get out of that bed. But at least at that point, I could talk to him. I could communicate with him. When Stephon Diggs gets out of the car and he's telling the policeman, I just want to go in and see my friend. I just need to know if he's all right. Unfortunately, he's going to get in there and he's still not going to know that he's all right. He doesn't just get to come out of surgery for his shoulder and be okay. Like, that's not what we wake up to do in this game. That's not what we've been conditioned to move on from. And that's evident when Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor meet in the middle of the field, or they meet in the tunnel and they say that we can't go do this. They couldn't put these men back out on the field to do something they've been built to do their whole lives, because no one should have to deal with what Damar Hamlin is dealing with tonight. They don't teach us this, Eves. We don't talk about this. We don't converse about this. They're not trying to build us up enough so that this is okay, because it's actually not okay.
Ryan Clark with Scott Van Pelt last night. He did a lot of work, too. Did the show after Scott Van Pelt. As a matter of fact, I think just listening to him, I think he felt called to do it. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
And those that don't know his story, he didn't almost die on the football field, but, and I don't know all the details of what went on with him, but he had something genetically that,
sickle cell, I believe.
Yeah, that once he flew like high altitude, it basically shut down his organs.
Yeah, they were flying to Denver.
Yes, flying to Denver.
Infarction because of
There you
sickle
go.
cell trait that he has.
Because of the sickle cell trait. So what it is basically the oxygen stops getting to your organs, and nobody could diagnose it. Nobody figured it out. He finally found a doctor who figured it out, sent him in for the right test, all of that, and then basically said, if I wouldn't have caught this, you would have been dead in 2 days. So they ended up removing his spleen, removing his gallbladder, and he went on to play again and was okay. But right after that, they said he was okay. They didn't really know how his body would react again to that high altitude. So they were like, I guess you can go play, you know? And of course, Ryan Clark was like, oh, I'm going to play. And Mike Tomlin sat him down and was like, guess what? If you were my son, you're not getting on that plane. I'm not allowing you to play.
Anytime that they would play in Denver, he was not allowed to play.
Ryan Clark
there was
was not
one
allowed to
time that he sat down with Tomlin, with his doctors, his wife, his family, and they're all like, look, he's good to go. Tomlin's like, nope, not happening.
Tomlin wouldn't let it happen. And Ryan Clark even said last night, too, he was like, I just remember feeling so much relief that he protected me from myself, you know? But so clearly he was in a situation where he almost lost his life. A little different. It wasn't on the field bench. But, I mean, life is life, right?
Right.
But he was just, he was exactly what was needed in that broadcast because of just the raw, like, accuracy of what he was showing and saying.
Well, he leaned into his emotion, too, to go against what Seton O'Connor said. I mean, like, lean into it. We're all human. I mean,
all of us.
Even us doing this job, we're thrown into nothing like that. But we are thrown into situations that we 100% have not prepared for.
Right.
Yes.
And we have to do as good a job telling the story for y'all as we can. Usually it's weather related. Like one time we're at Rippy's and the tornado's rolling through downtown Nashville.
Right.
And so everybody is back in the kitchen, hunkering down, and I'm on the sidewalk so I can see it and so I can dictate what's happening in detail to people that might be in their cars on 440, for example.
Yeah.
It's just, a responsibility that you have as a broadcaster to do the best job you can in moments that are certainly not comfortable. But our thoughts and prayers certainly up for Damar Hamlin, just like yours. And we will continue to talk about this story as we roll through 3HL. When we come back, we will talk about Titans at Jags. That's coming up for the division this weekend, Saturday night. Jags are unhappy that they got the short week thanks to the flex by the NFL.
Oh, boo freaking who.
Tim Wyatt joins us next. Josh Dobbs' his second career NFL start, his first NFL start on the road. We'll talk with Jimmy about that next from TennesseeTitans.com at Jay Wyatt Sports. Go up to Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. That's where you need to go to get that next new vehicle. If you're looking for a car, truck, SUV, or Jeep, these are your guys. If you are going dealership to dealership, shopping around, make sure you include my guys at Gupton Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Went up there not too long ago, last week, as a matter of fact, and went and saw Daniel Gupton. The guys needed a service project done on our Ram truck, and we got that done in minimal time. Got to talk with Daniel about the dealership and what's going on up there, and he's excited about 2023 and about helping you guys get in that next new vehicle because, listen, they're not going to put any pressure on you. They simply want you in the vehicle that's right for you. And here's exactly what happened when we drove up on the lot. Those guys have no idea why we're there. So we park, we walk right in the front door, say hi to people. I mean, you go to some dealerships, and when you pull in, they open your door for you. Get out of here with that. Not going to happen at Gupton Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. They're going to treat you the right way. They're ready to help you. GuptonMotors.com is the website. Check out the inventory there. All the dealership information is there. 3450 Tom Austin Highway in Springfield, Tennessee. About 30 minutes from downtown Nashville. That's Gupton Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. 3HL 104.5, The Zone. Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, Ron Slay with you on a Tuesday afternoon in the Music City. Hello.
What's up, Mr. Doubtfire?
You know it. I love that movie.
So you were Robin Williams doing a woman.
Hello. That's right.
That
I was
didn't
Robin
sound,
Williams doing.
yeah, that did sound right.
A guy doing a woman. Yeah, I mean,
So Jim Wyatt's supposed to be joining us.
that's why you don't tell me things, because I got to play them out.
I'm glad Dawn
Out
wasn't in
loud.
here at the beginning of the 4 o'clock hour when you led it, and I came back, and you were going into the Damar Hamlin situation, and I sat down but missed my chair and almost fell on the floor, and you started dying laughing. And we're like, I promise we're not laughing about this story.
This man almost fell smooth out of the chair. He missed the whole chair.
Hey,
So Dawn
I'll
came
give
back
you
in.
this. They're like,
They do slide.
So I said, it's time for us to be professional. Like Hunk's like, I don't know how you transition to Rashad Weaver. I'm like, watch this, professionally. And like we got back into what we were doing. And then Dawn walked in. Like, we were a couple of pros in here.
see, I didn't even see the unprofessional side.
Yeah, so Jacksonville.
Well done, boys. Well done. Way to hide it.
Jacksonville upset that the NFL flexed them into a short week.
Give me a break. Jacksonville's the least injured team in the NFL. Get over it.
Jim Wyatt with us at J Wyatt Sports on Twitter. Jimmy, a lot of guys at practice today, though.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, certainly, it's a different looking injury report than what we've seen in recent weeks. And I think a lot of that had to do, with the fact that some guys got the day off, last Thursday night, which I know, at the time, players wanted to see the best players out there playing against the Cowboys, on Thursday night football. But I think you have to take, the big picture into consideration. I think that's why you saw Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry and Derrick Henry and Monty Hooker and Christian Fulton and a long list of players inactive to try to get them ready and to try to get them to have a little bit of a bounce in their step, for the last week of the season. And I think that's what we saw today. I think, it was certainly a good sign. It was a weird day and kind of a different mood at the facility today. I got to go into that before I get too deep into football. Everybody's geared up for the Jaguars game, but certainly it was a somber type locker room and to some degree, just because players are dealing, with what we saw last night with Damar Hamlin and what a scary situation that was. Some guys have close ties to him, like Rashad Weaver from his playing days at Pittsburgh. But it prompted Kevin Byard to talk about his mother, suffering cardiac arrest in when she passed, and Jeffrey Simmons talking about his nephew, that 15-year-old nephew that died on the football field just last month that he had not made public yet. And it led to Robert Woods talking about, the team prayer and the meeting it had discussing the events of last night. And there's a big football game on Saturday, but certainly I found myself in the locker room not even want to ask football questions because of what happened last night. And, I think by the end of the week, I think you certainly got to get yourself ready to play a game. And this is not the only locker room where this is going on. I think if you're an NFL player, if you're a human being, that had to have an impact on you last night.
Yeah, I think the Bills reporters did an awesome job. At one point, somebody tweeted out, like, hey, if you want to follow the Bills reporters, here they all are. And so I started following all 4 of these guys, and I think they did a remarkable job trying to relay news as it was coming down, but making sure that it was worth passing along, which is a completely different thing. Because covering a team, like in a situation, like a breaking news situation that's ongoing, you're hearing all kinds of things. It's not like you could just throw it all out there. Like you have to kind of make educated decisions on what to report.
Yeah, and it's really kind of an unprecedented situation for these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been to games where we have injuries and you want to check up on players and how they're doing and you get updates along the way. But this was different last night, such a serious situation and him being rushed to the hospital. And, Rhino Halloran's a friend of mine that covers, the Bills, who's been in Denver and used to be in Jacksonville. And, he went to Cincinnati to cover a football game last night. And then he ends up, being at the hospital in Cincinnati, kind of giving updates from there because he left the stadium to go to the hospital. And but it's certainly a challenge. I mean, there was no players or coaches were available last night, and those reporters are trying to do the best they could to keep fans updated with what was going on, and I think everybody, was kind of waiting throughout the night to see if we were going to get any kind of an update and hope it wasn't a terrible update. And I think that's where we continue to be as this approaches, 24 hours. But you just got to wish for the best and pray for his family and for everybody involved, because it affects so many different people, especially the ones that were there, the ones close to him.
Jim Wyatt with us on 3HL at J Wyatt Sports. Sorry.
My bad. No, my fault. Jimmy, real quick, who was anyone on a lighter note looking at the Titans prepping? Who was somebody that you thought had a little bit more pep in their step? Was it Denitro? That's like Danico and Autry put together.
Denitro.
It's like a
like
transformer.
That's actually a good nickname.
Denitro, yeah.
It's like watch out for Nitro.
Yeah, you hit the nitro button and get behind that
There you
quarterback.
go.
Okay, Denitro or King Henry, who had a little more pep to the step, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think it is Danico Autry. Just watching the video of him, he's kind of, had a tough time, and he didn't practice for so long. And then when he did come back, you could tell he wasn't right. And today's the first day I looked at him, and he did have. I even tweeted out a video of him earlier about him having a pep in the step. He did look like he was fired up and kind of feeling good and ready to go. And that's certainly a very good sign for this defense. Jeffrey Simmons has fought through this ankle injury he's been dealing with, and that week off obviously helped him. We'll talk to Derrick Henry tomorrow. I'm sure he hated not playing this past week, but I think in the long run, if this team can find a way to win on Saturday, I should say, he's going to benefit from not having an extra week of wear and tear. But it was certainly good to see everybody back in the practice field, and things can start to get serious here as the week goes on.
Real quick, Jimmy, on the way out, Josh Dobbs, one of the interesting things I found from his post-game press conference, he said that they threw pass routes in that game that they didn't rep in practice. He said that he thought the added time and having a full week and then some would help in terms of how ready he is. How much do you think that does help him?
Well, I definitely think it helps. And it's going to help even more to have Derrick Henry lining up behind you having an offensive line that's maybe, hopefully you get Nicholas Petit-Frere back and you have, a few more guys back there. But just the chemistry with the receivers and the timing with the extra week of practice. I thought Mike Vrabel had a good point yesterday. And certainly it's tough for Malik Willis, after starting 3 games and working throughout the year. It's tough for him to not be the starter, I'm sure. And Mike Vrabel, in talking about Malik, just talked about some of the things working against him, or what was the fact that this team hasn't been able to have practices with a lot of speed over the last couple of weeks, just because they've been so banged up and shorthanded and playing on short weeks. And I think one thing that benefits is, it's a practice today and it wasn't a walkthrough. They were doing some stuff with speed where he's able to do more, kind of get again on the same page with those receivers, and that should help. Now this is going to be a tough challenge on Saturday. The Jaguars are playing well. They're creating turnovers. It's going to be a hostile environment. And but Josh Dobbs, as you guys know, has played in some pretty rowdy atmospheres himself in front of some big crowds, including his last I think college football game in Nashville. I take that back. He played in the Music City Bowl, but I guess his last game in Nashville was against Vandy, which I was going to try to make it sound like that was a big noise challenge, but maybe not as big as some.
That might have been a home game. Atmosphere.
Damn, going after your own fan base.
No, I'm building it up. I'm not going after I was building it up as that being a big, but I was embellishing how big of a challenge he was dealing with that night.
Love it. Hey, thanks for the visit, Jimmy. Always appreciate you, my friend.
Okay, you have a good week. Thank you.
Your Tennessee Titans content at TennesseeTitans.com at J Wyatt Sports. When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour commences. We've got Buck Reising at 5:30. Outside of that, well, I should say it's up to Dawn.
If we have Buck?
Yeah. That's a last-minute decision. That's a game-time decision right there.
I haven't decided yet.
All right, we'll be right back. VHL. Drop everything, even your New Year's resolution. Hurry to the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale. New Xfinity customers can get 75 megabit internet for just $20 a month for 1 year with no annual contract. We have Xfinity internet in our home, and we just moved. And so that's one of the things that we needed to work the best because we are all working out of the home, school work, game work, all of that needed to work, and it does. And when you add Xfinity Mobile, you can get the best price for 2 lines of Unlimited Plus for a limited time. Get $500 back with 2 new mobile lines. You've got all year to pick up a new hobby, but this offer won't last forever. So drop the kale smoothie and make savings for your New Year's resolution. Drop everything. Get to Xfinity Hello 2023 sale now through January 10th. To learn more, go to Xfinity.com/Hello 2023. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Equipment taxes and fees are extra. After the term, regular rates apply. Xfinity Internet required for Xfinity Mobile. Compares Xfinity Unlimited intro to lowest price 5G plans for top 3 carriers. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage per line. Data thresholds may vary.
Good evening from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Joe Hunk. Before we get into the injury report for the Titans that dropped just a little while ago, they signed a few players to the practice squad earlier today. Curtis Brooks, Shaheem Carter, as well as Sam Okawanu are on that squad. Shaheem Carter and Okawanu are on that squad for a second time. David Long has been, at least we're sitting here hoping that he's eventually going to be activated for his 21-day window from IR. Remember, if he ever is, he will be the last player eligible for the Titans to activate from injured reserve. But Coach Vrabel earlier today said as of right now, he is still not activated. Now, as far as the Titans injury report, the only player that did not practice today was Devontae Harris. But Terrell Basham, Dylan Cole, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, MPF, and Big Jeff were all on the field in a limited capacity. But Josh Thompson, Danico Autry, and Derrick Henry were all full participants. For all your foundation repair waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Vols, the flagship station for your Tennessee Titans, and home to 3HL. This is 104.5 The Zone.
HL 104.5 The Zone. What up, Nashville? Happy Tuesday to you. Of course, the story that we're all talking about, a player's life in the balance. Prayers up for Bills safety Damar Hamlin. Suffered cardiac arrest on the field last night during Monday Night Football. His heartbeat restored on the field. He is in critical condition. In intensive care, is sedated, so they could intubate him. His vitals are good, which is certainly positive. And you know, you read some of these tweets from doctors and nurses that jump into the mix, and I read a couple of tweets from cardiac nurses that said that was a positive sign that they got the heartbeat restored and that his vitals were good. So prayers up, continued prayers as we continue to talk about this story. Going to hit on the T. Higgins side of things and localize it a little bit with the help of Mike Organ, who had a piece in the Tennessean today. He got with Brad Gaines, who played running back for Vanderbilt. Back in 1989, he was hit by Chucky Mullins, who was a redshirt freshman defensive back for Ole Miss in 1989. Mullins was paralyzed from the neck down. He died less than 2 years later. Mike Organ caught up with Brad Gaines for the Tennessean. Read you kind of what he was thinking as he watched it unfold last night, having lived with this his entire life since then. And Chucky Mullins, by the way, paralyzed from the neck down, died less than 2 years later. And Brad Gaines and Chucky Mullins were close friends after that incident until the day that Chucky Mullins died. And Brad Gaines continued to go by the cemetery and clean his gravestone, pull weeds, things like that, pray to him, pray for him, and things like that. So I'll read you a couple of those quotes in just a little bit. In the meantime.
In between time.
Thank you.
We all now pause because we got to say it.
Yeah. Don Davenport is here.
Yes.
She's all dressed up and ready to go. She's got big earrings on. She's got like a green shirt. That's not very descriptive. Other than the color.
A green shirt? She is dressed up today, boys.
That
shirt's like.
Well, she pulled the green shirt out.
She pulled the green shirt out.
That shirt says money, boy.
She's not wearing that whole North Carolina blue shirt.
That's right.
It's
This
the green
bad
one.
boy is green.
Yeah, it's more like University
money
of
tonight,
Charlotte.
baby. We're gonna get somebody. Come on, Babs. Let's go get them.
We're going to dinner.
We're going to dinner. Meanwhile, I'm dressed like a
dinner.
football coach. I forgot that we were going to dinner.
Mayor.
I wore a
Come on,
golf shirt,
Euro.
jeans, and a Titans pullover.
I got my 5-inch heeled boots, thigh-high boots. Like,
See?
I went all out.
You ready to go?
I'm not sitting next to her tonight. I get it on remotes, man.
I'll sit next to you, Babsy.
Yeah, you can.
I'm dressed to a T.
Can be a buffer.
I am going to take my hat and my do-rag off.
Oh, that's good.
It's a formal affair. I'll take those off.
We're going to dinner, y'all.
nice.
Yeah, before we go to the steakhouse, the do-rag's coming off.
We're going to dinner, y'all. Like, hey, I'm trying to dress apart.
He's Ron Slay.
I'm in the building.
And from Nashville, Tennessee, at 6 foot 8.
I ain't gonna leave you out there by yourself, man. You dress up like I guess the least I can do is take my do-rag off in the hat. Okay.
Thanks, Slay.
Y'all better buckle up, because this car ain't got no roof.
No, it doesn't. A few basketball games tonight, if you're looking for it. LSU plus the 10.5. You like that against Kentucky?
I do like that against Kentucky. I think everybody has an opportunity to prove that they're serious. LSU proved it last week versus Arkansas to open up the SEC season. You got another opportunity tonight. So listen, I'm with it.
You like
Okay, so this is the second week of SEC play.
Yeah,
I
second
haven't
week.
jumped in. It's time to jump into
So
hoops.
one game has been played. Yep, that was last week. Yep. And then they skipped a game.
Listen, Slave's jumping into the SEC Network on Saturday. SEC Network's not going to know what hit them.
No, I'm coming in there. I'm coming like a wrecking ball.
Bro, I thought you were setting me up.
Hey, man, I don't really know.
I'm thinking about Slay bringing sexy back, riding the wrecking ball like Miley Cyrus with baby oil on.
Yes.
And a tank top.
Everything but my ankles. Baby oil.
Why not
I'm
your
excited to see
said they were little
you
legs.
in the studio, though.
Yeah,
I'm pumped.
Babs, why do you see me in that dapper now?
Did you get a new suit for
Babs,
that?
I'm out here. Let's shout out to John Street. What up, Street?
He got you dressed right?
Hey, man,
with your suit game is those guys also have amazing sock game.
Oh, are you ready?
Shout out to the Vanderbilts coming through. You know what I mean? Letty and Graham holding me down. Y'all always know. You know what I mean? Chris ain't gonna let me run out there any kind of way.
No,
I got
she'll
to be,
take care of you.
I got to be spiffy. I got to be spiffy.
So watch the SEC Network on Saturday, and you'll see Slay and all of this stuff.
That's right. All day long Saturday.
All day long. That's a lot of work.
That's right, yeah. Hey, I'm here for it.
Are you nervous?
I'm excited. More excited than nervous.
Love it.
Just hope I ain't on that sweat. If I'm on that sweating like Michael Irvin, text me, Babs.
No,
Say,
you'll
come
be
on,
good.
Slay. Okay.
They keep it cool in
Hey,
there.
come on, Slay. Get it together. What are you doing?
Get it together.
There you go. You represent
I'll
that
let you
side
know.
there. Yeah.
My 12-year-old
Represents that
says
way.
he gets nervous all the time.
I'll get more
That's-
hyped and nervous
That's
about
just
stuff.
a thing. And I said, if you weren't nervous, you wouldn't care. That means you don't care.
I get nervous before opening hit on every single game.
I'm more hyped.
Not so much this show.
No.
It's like riding a bike in here.
I know I'm allowed to say whatever I want to say on
the
this
moving
show.
sidewalk's already going 100 miles an hour. You just got to jump on and hold on. That's what happens here. But yeah, so talking a lot about Damar Hamlin and how scary that situation was last night, and you know the broadcast job was phenomenal by all involved. The medical personnel, they reacted so fast, man, and that's something that really stood out. And I mean, props to you. Always see this, but last night, man, the personnel was on the field so fast with radios communicating to each other. I mean, quickly. Ambulance on the field.
Because you saw it immediately.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like I would imagine that any medical personnel that saw that might have known what was going on immediately. Yeah. You know, if you go back and watch the play and how he just fell back. Just dropped. Yeah.
Well, so evidently they were putting him in the ambulance and then they stopped. And that's when like you can see the kind of the far away shot where all the players like kind of turned around and were like despondent.
Yep.
So yeah, just a really scary situation. We're hoping and praying for good news.
Yep.
And you guys know, we had Roger Saffold when he was here with the Titans. He was on our Thursday night or our Tuesday night, then our Buffalo Wild Wings Titans football feast. He came on numerous times, just adore the guy. He is now with the Bills and tweeted this because, later in the night you started to see reactions on social media from some of his teammates and all this. And this is what Saffold, and the end of it just shook me and struck me. But this is what he said. Damar Hamlin is a kind, caring, extremely hard worker. He's loyal, honest, and can always put a smile on your face. He is more than an athlete. He is a son and a brother. I pray God gives him mercy and brings him back to us.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you didn't understand the gravity of what happened on that field, you certainly did after reading that tweet. And that bring him back to us, just that struck me.
We did several shows with Roger Saffold. Very intelligent.
Very.
Yeah, without
and
question.
insightful. and just a good dude.
Very well thought out, too. He just doesn't say flippant things like some of us. Maybe all three of us.
Perhaps the show.
Which actually was probably why he worked really well with us.
Right.
I mentioned Ryan Clark being measured. That's exactly the word for Roger Saffold, too. So, that was that was very well put out there. Brad Gaines, I keep mentioning, from Vanderbilt. In 1989, Vanderbilt was playing Ole Miss, and Brad Gaines had the football, and Chucky Mullins, a defensive back for Ole Miss, hit him in the back. Chucky Mullins dropped to the ground. He was paralyzed from the neck down. Brad Gaines has been affected by that his entire life. Even though, like T. Higgins, who I'm sure you'll see the right words being written from him or said by him, but just we all understand that's going to be difficult for him because he was the guy that Damar Hamlin hit.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's not your fault, everybody internalizes things that happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Brad Gaines did the same thing. And so Mike Organ, Tennessean, long time writer for the Tennessean, longtime friend of mine, caught up with Brad Gaines and wrote this piece for the Tennessean. And Brad Gaines said this, quote, "I was sick at my stomach. I couldn't sleep last night. It just tore me up. For someone's life to be left in peril like that after so many things that have come together to bring about an injury, and they do come together, literally means you want to go throw up." He said, "Obviously, I prayed for Damar, but I also prayed for T. Higgins. There is no way that game was going to continue to be played. Unless you've been in those shoes, you have no idea the kind of impact that something like that has on the players. You saw what it did to me. I was never the same."
Oh, my gosh.
Watson Brown, who was the Vanderbilt coach in 1989, witnessed, obviously, Mullins' hit on Gaines from the sideline. Soon after seeing Hamlin collapse on the field Monday night, Brown sent a text to Gaines, his former player. Quote, "I just wanted to make sure that Brad was okay because I thought about him after that play. I mean, we were in a game and all of a sudden it's not a game anymore. It's life and death." That's what those players and coaches were going through last night. And I knew what Higgins was going through because I saw what Brad went through and how much it affected him. Oregon writes, Gaines visited Mullins on several occasions during the 114 days that Mullins spent in the hospital, and the two established a unique bond. On his first visit, Mullins told Gaines the injury was not his fault. Think about that's a redshirt freshman who is paralyzed from the neck down, and the first thing he says to the guy is, "It's not your fault."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
After Mullins passed away, Gaines vowed to visit his gravesite in Russellville, Alabama 3 times every year. On October 28th, the day Mullins was injured, Christmas, and on May 6th, the day Mullins died. Gaines returned last week from his Christmas visit when, as he does on every visit, cleaned Mullins' headstone, pulled weeds from around the grave, and sat and reflected. Great job by Mike Organ, and we're all blessed and fortunate that Brad Gaines was able to open up so we could kind of see inside that, and that Watson Brown was too.
Let me leave the people with this, man, because I share a Bible verse every morning.
Yes, you do, and I love it.
It's been a lot I've been working through behind the scenes, but this came to me when you have a little misunderstanding and think you can take it on and feel a certain way about pushing through things. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make straight your paths." So just take it with you.
We'll be right back.
What's happening, people? Ron Slahill from Nashville to Knoxville, all around the country. Make it your bid on Superbook Sports app. That's where you can put your wagers in at. And visit superbook.com also. Start placing your bets immediately. Got games coming up tonight that you probably want to get in on. I would advise you to go on and take Tennessee in the spread. That's just what I'm going to do. You probably wonder what the parlay is. A lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to get into, but don't worry about that. Let's do a magic trick. Put Vegas right there in the palm of your hands once you do this, and offering up to a $1,000 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager in the same day, people. Yes, you can do that. I know it's magic. It does happen somehow, some way. I really ain't figured it out, but you can do it. Get in action right now with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com. For terms and conditions, gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. You know the rest of it, people. Hashtag that thing. Book it.
3HL 1045 The Zone. We're going to chat with Buck Reising, I think, at 5:30. Dawn has to give her approval.
Somebody asked about what's the beef between Buck and Dawn.
There's no beef.
Ain't no beef.
No, I mean, I just think he has dumb takes sometimes. That's all.
So sometimes
it's not
Dawn,
actual beef. I just call him out when
well,
he deserves to be called out.
Yeah, and some days you're just not in the mood to talk with him.
Correct.
And so it's a game time decision.
Yeah. But I will say, I feel like we're all kind of full of compassion today.
Yeah.
We kind of, I feel like we've seen the good in humanity
That's
in a terrible event that happened last night, and everybody's kind of come together. So we can love on Buck today.
Okay. You can love on Buck. I don't know what that means. But,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what he says.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Whether the love continues or not.
So during the break, Davenport's like, I didn't know if we could talk about Slay being on SEC Network. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, I didn't realize if it was public knowledge.
Yeah, all
yet.
this came down on the same day. You were not there. Yeah, he just got, well.
I was in New York.
We were supposed to make the announcement at 4, but we forgot. Can you believe that?
Shocking. I can't believe it.
I seriously think it's the first time it ever happened.
That's never happened.
Yeah.
We were all shocked.
So then we were going to do it at 4:20, but we forgot. But that segment is so long that we weren't able to get it in toward the end. And so we played the breaking news sounder and told Slay's story that he will be on the SEC Network on Saturday and will be every Saturday through the rest of the season.
Correction, that was the one time where he just decided to slide it in without me being able to fire the sounder. Because he was just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be on SEC Network.
The funniest part of that day was our very first segment. This was at Buffalo Wild Wings. Our very first segment, I'm getting ready to throw it to Slay, and I guess I do. We did your intro, and you came back, and you were talking about something about your knees hurting.
Yeah.
And then you were like, well, me and Chris got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just boom. Like,
there you go.
Oh, by the way.
He's lucky I was listening.
Yeah, you
Right?
missed it.
Because I'd have missed it. We'd have just gone.
Like
and
said
everybody'd
in
be like,
passing.
And I'm like, wait a minute. That's how you're going to announce that?
No. Hey, I have an announcement. Hit it, huh?
I wish we
Hit it, Jay Smiley. None of that.
I know.
Yeah,
Put Chris on the phone, all that.
Yeah,
Like,
just went on through it.
I really wish that you had that on tape. It was ridiculously funny. It was the biggest, like,
It's so Slay.
I mean, it just went flying by me. I had to, like, reach up and grab it.
Got it.
Wait a minute. Let's reel this back in.
We say what?
So Slay had 2 big announcements. He got engaged, and he's going to be on the SEC Network.
Yep.
About that, man.
That is right.
That's a good week.
Couple other stories. Jim Harbaugh is reportedly talking with the Panthers. The story came out last week, and we all had the same reaction on our text strand that Jim Harbaugh will talk about NFL jobs. I'm like, man, why don't you just fire his ass?
Yeah, he gone though. I think he's gone. I think he's
This
gone
happened
this
last
time.
year.
It happened last year. I'm tired of this if I'm Michigan. Like, dude, listen.
If
you
I'm-
don't want to be with me, don't be with me.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm the players, I'm
Yeah,
like,
you ain't gonna
"Ugh."
keep doing this.
Now, I will also say this. I'll give Jim Harbaugh a break because this is a different world with NIL
Very
and
true.
the transfer portal.
Yep.
And that's why all these people talking about, oh, watch out, we're going to lose Vrabel to Ohio State. No.
Mm-mm.
No, that is a different world nowadays, coaching college football. And the work that you have to put in, not just in recruiting high school, now you've got to recruit the transfer portal. Now you've got to recruit your own players. Now you've got to work on NIL. Now you've got to make sure that your collective is all in check.
Right.
There's so much that goes into college now. And oh, by the way, you better go win now. And you better not lose a single game.
Check.
Yeah,
All you
it
do is
is
check.
beyond a headache. That's beyond a headache. I couldn't imagine that. Like
No,
it was already
thank
crazy.
you.
It was already crazy.
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, like, I don't know. Like, is it cool that he's out and open about it all?
Oh no, I'm not accepting that.
No. I'm not giving him
no
a
way am
pass
I
for how
accepting
he's
that.
handling it. Like, seriously, just go get yourself an NFL job and call it a day.
Yeah, that's okay.
Stop yanking your players and
Mm-hmm.
team's chain.
I bet them recruiters sitting in there, like, hey man, what are you doing, dude? Like we
I
got
bet
this
every
5-star
school
on the
is
hook,
like-
man.
Yeah.
Like
I got to make
And I bet-
27,000 phone calls today.
You know, every other school, because they do it for like the, Coastal Carolinas
As
or
soon as it
whatever.
happens.
Hey, you know that coach isn't going to be there.
Yep.
Why do you want to go play there?
Mhm.
You know you don't want to go to Michigan.
Yep.
Harbaugh's looking at NFL jobs again. You don't want to go play for him.
absolutely right.
The other story that's out there, it looks like the NCAA wants a 90-team basketball tournament.
Have you digested this yet, Slay?
No,
because
not all
my
the way.
immediate reaction was, no, that's stupid.
I want to look at it first. I'm feeling like you, but I think it's
S word.
Yeah, I think it's
Kids
silly
don't
though.
use that word.
But they're sick of They're sick of football. Football that's taking over. They're 365 days a year. Y'all ain't even leaving
Football's
us to
king.
March.
Yeah.
You're not leaving us March. Like, what you want to do?
It's funny,
So
like
they got to stretch it out.
As much as I love football, college football first, the NFL second. The best event is the NCAA basketball tournament.
Agreed.
And that's what college basketball knows. So with that being the case, how do you get more out of it? Add more teams. Stretch it out. Make it two
Does it water it
longer
down?
weeks. I don't think so if
it's done right.
If it's done right. You know what I mean? Like maybe make all of, I don't know if you make all of those play-in games, but give certain teams a first round bye, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And let everybody else play their way in. I guess. I mean, I don't know, man.
Well, then, can I be a jerk?
I don't know, man.
Sure.
Well, then what's the point? Because, I mean, I guess basketball's a little different, but like sometimes in football you talk about expansion. You're like, why does it matter? Because does anybody on the back half actually have a chance to win a national title? Does anybody on the back half of that 90 have a chance to make a really long run like that in a tournament?
I'm not sure, but if it's a team like St. Peter's that got in and they make it to the Sweet 16 from that last spot,
then that's like
those
university.
six gathered teams in that one location. You can get out of it a football experience, a football Saturday out of 6 teams.
Let me ask you this:
fair.
have any of y'all ever worn a banana suit to a college basketball game?
No, I think that's
I can't say that I have.
that would be peeling it back. Peeling back layers.
You like
I
that,
think
Buck?
only crazy people would do that.
Like what I did right there.
You like that, Buck?
Boo!
We just come on our show and just start booing us.
You can't get away with that, man.
Is IU basketball back?
That's the question, Babsy.
Is IU basketball back, Bucky Buck?
Are you really going to bring me on here tonight to make me miserable about the only thing that I care about in my sports life? Like, are we kidding me with this?
But y'all ranked 15th, dog. Like, what else you want out of your team this early in the conference just beginning?
I want them to not lose to Rutgers. I want them to not get embarrassed by Arizona. I want them to, be a quality college basketball program that it hasn't been for about 30 years. So I'm completely.
I went way out to Vegas for that Arizona too.
Well, I mean, Rutgers is beating all kinds.
Partner missed that trip.
There's that. I'm thinking you're actually lucky to be on the show today because we've established that it's a game time decision when you pop on, and Dawn Davenport, she doesn't make up her mind until right before we call you. This is where we are. I just want to be upfront.
I said yes today. I figure we're all full of a little compassion after last night,
Oh, so I'm a pity call at this point on? What?
I just like to mess with
listen,
it's 2023. We got to start the year off right, Buck.
Well, it sounds very, very familiar to 2022 and 2021, 20 and 2019. So whatever makes you happy, Dawn.
Love ya.
Buck, wanted to get your perspective. I know you're either like on the radio or doing things on the internet or you're asleep. But I'm curious, were you watching Monday Night Football last night when Damar Hamlin went down?
Yeah, I actually unknowingly was getting ready to start the primetime show and go about my normal Monday night situation at about 8 o'clock. And obviously as that play took place, I was watching. I saw the medical situation, the emergency medical staff come out. I was kind of keeping a side eye on it, and then we decided to kind of postpone a little bit what time I was going to start because, obviously it was a horrifying situation with 10 minutes of CPR and AED trying to resuscitate him and keep him going until they could get him into the ambulance and take him to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. So yes, long story short, I was watching, as were so many other people, in horror last night.
I mean, nobody's prepared for that. It's like, except for the medical personnel. That really stood out, right? Like right when he went down, the medical personnel were on the field on radios. and you knew at that point that this was something different?
It's almost like the medical personnel are more aware of what it is that they're watching than the rest of us are, as far as what we've become a bit numb to. And, listen, we all are football fans, right? We all, not outside of what it is that we do for a living. It is America's most popular sport. It is, it comes with a high degree of risk, but cardiac arrest is not something that you typically associate with that risk. That was a new phenomenon, I think, for many of us to experience. I know that there have been moments, scary moments before. Ryan Shazier comes to mind. I know Ramon spoke about that earlier, having been on the field for that situation, a spinal injury, and it's never the hits that you think are going to cause the most significant problems. And who's to say necessarily that that's purely speculation to even suggest that the hit kind of spurred on the cardiac arrest situation that Damar Hamlin took while he was in on that tackle on T. Higgins. But yes, it was, thank God for the medical staff. Thank God that the coaches understood the severity of the situation, so much so as to kind of take control of what was happening. And it sounds like the league was put in a worse spotlight by the commentary on the television broadcast, having suggested that there would be a 5-minute warm-up period before the game would resume, and which they have since disputed. So I think there's no manual on how to handle a situation like that last night. But I think given the circumstances, everybody was just trying to do the best that they can, and hopefully it results in being able to save the life of a young man who's very much fighting for his.
What you were around the players at the facility today, the Titans, I'm just curious the effect it had that you saw in talking to them on our players here in town.
Well, I mean, Rashad Weaver, I think, is one that in particular comes to mind. A teammate with Damar Hamlin at Pitt, was visibly shaken by it, understandably so. Yeah. Has a relationship with him and kind of spoke to those emotions, did break down after having a conversation with us on, and it's a difficult circumstance anyway when you've got that many people around you with cameras and microphones and all these kind of things, and it is it's part of the routine for them, but obviously this is a more raw and visceral situation than anybody could possibly be prepared for. So Weaver in particular, I thought, was an example of what so many people who are connected to Damar Hamlin or people in the same vicinity as Damar Hamlin, or there's just so many different 6 degrees of separation in the NFL that this person has clearly touched a lot of people's lives, and every franchise is probably dealing with that in some form or fashion, as well as his college football program, his college teammates, everybody that's been in his life in some form or fashion, having to witness that. I can't even begin to imagine. It was scary for all of us who don't know the young man and found out about him very, very quickly. It's unfortunate when those things happen in real time, that it feels like we all learned a lot about who Damar Hamlin was in the moment of what is probably close to as big a tragedy as has been in his life. And but I thought Vrabel was good at processing it as far as what it's like for a parent to watch a child participate in a sporting event where you're not really watching the game necessarily, you're just watching to see how your kid does, and how hard that must have been for parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever, who were watching Damar play in a massive game as a 6th-round pick on national television last night, and to see it go down like that, words can't express.
I can't imagine. So obviously the most important thing right now is Damar Hamlin and his condition and how he comes out of this. Obviously currently sedated, still listed in critical condition in Cincinnati. But as we look ahead, obviously the rest of the teams are going to continue to play, and the NFL has got to figure out at some point, what to do from a scheduling standpoint. How in the world does this league move forward with that, with the scheduling aspect of it, with, the Bills are supposed to play, obviously, this weekend, with how that all kind of moves ahead at the end of the season. And this is not an incompassionate, kind of thought, but it obviously has to be talked about and addressed, because I sat there and watched those Bills players and their faces and what they just went through. One of their brothers and their teammates just basically died on the field, and they sat there and watched that in a game that they do, yes, for a profession, but that they do for fun. And I just can't imagine the path to moving forward with this, no matter what happens, to Damar Hamlin. So how is this going to be navigated?
Well, they're currently working on different scenarios as far as that has gone. But as far as any public comments that have been made and anybody that I've talked to around the league, it's basically just kind of, we'll wait with Buffalo and Buffalo in particular, obviously, given that Damar Hamlin is a player for the Bills.
Right.
But, we kind of go as egos, essentially, and I don't think there's any consideration to putting that team on the field until we have a more, concrete understanding of where this guy is health-wise. Now, obviously, that affects, as you just mentioned, so many different multitudes of what it is that the NFL is trying to get done at the very end of the year and trying to get this season under wraps.
And it's unprecedented. Like, there's no book for, this happened, we can go by this,
There's not, which brings to mind, the COVID postponements, like Titans and Steelers that one year where, obviously mitigating circumstances required games to be played on a Tuesday for the Titans and the Bills, and to shift the Steelers and the Titans, on to a bye week. Now, obviously, the bye week is no longer an option. This is the kind of logistical hurdles that you're talking about. But right now, the league's public line is that they are not giving consideration to Buffalo playing until they know more about Damar Hamlin. And obviously, the timeline for that is very, very short. So I wish that I had more concrete answers for you, Dawn, but
yeah, they're just not out there.
All that they've given. That's basically all that they've given at this point.
Great perspective, Buck. Buck Reising at Buck Reising on Twitter. All jokes aside, great job. Buck Reising Show, 10 to 1 weekdays. The angry sports millennial hipster, I like to call him, with just 2 cats. Rumors out there that he had 4. We're jumping the gun on that.
It's just 2.
Yeah, it's not like Gremlins; they didn't get wet and multiply. All right, thanks, Buck.
Well,
appreciate you, man.
Entirely possible. God knows there's probably a horde of them living under the house or something like that.
Everyone's like,
only
hey,
2 that we know about.
Yeah,
that Buck guy.
They're
Let's
plotting.
go.
They're plotting their next move. 2 of them got in, so now they're trying to figure out the rest of
That's
it.
right. They're going to take you down.
Sleeper cells.
Yep. See you, dude.
Thanks, Buck.
Bye.
When we come back, again, at Buck Rising, we've got the Titans injury report. Not as bad as normal.
Oh.
It's amazing when you let guys rest.
There we go.
And also Mike Vrabel with a couple of comments today about Damar Hamlin's situation. We'll do that for you next. Also, John in the Borough was an EMT. He'll hop on. All that coming up. Stay tuned.
What do I love about betting on the NFL? You can always find new players or game props that you like. And what's cool about FanDuel Sportsbook is that you can combine them all with other bets from the same game, score an even bigger payout, which is perfect for all the games this weekend, including one on Saturday night that might be of importance for many of you out there. Titans and Jags, right? Yes. Build your own same game parlay for the Titans-Jags game. Maybe you want to go Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown, which we're about to give you the injury report so you know who will be out there. Maybe you want to go interceptions or something. We got a defense that looks a little healthier. Maybe you want to go Josh Dobbs over on passing yards. I mean, he threw a ton of passes in the last game. Maybe we'll see a little more of that. There you go. Boom. Same game parlay. Just one of the reasons I bet with FanDuel. It's easy to register, easy to deposit, easy to find your bet. And when you win, you get paid fast. No feeling like nailing that same game parlay. Lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're new, sign up with promo code DAWN for your no sweat first bet, which can be up to $1,000. That's promo code DAWN, DAWN. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You do have to be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets. Expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem. Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, Josh Dobbs over passing yardage. Boom.
Got it. Nailed it.
John Madden over there.
Yeah.
And hype man. I can't wait for this dinner coming up. I don't know what's going to happen. 5-inch heels, steaks. I do know this. Rates have come down. I'm not talking about Dawn. Rates have come down a bit recently, though they're still higher than they were a year ago. But you know what else has gone up? Interest rates on credit cards and HELOCs. That's why you need a trusted local advisor from Accurate Mortgage to help guide you through this crazy market for your home purchase or refinance, not some Joe Blow off the internet in an anonymous chat box. Unlike the big online lenders, Accurate Mortgage, you're not just a number to make a quick buck off of. Accurate will only ever advise a loan that makes sense for you financially. Even though rates may be higher than your current mortgage, a cash-out refi might be able to save you money every month by getting rid of higher interest rate consumer debts. Don't lose these savings in your wallet to the interest rate in your head. Jen in Nolensville, real life example. She was able to completely remodel her home with a cash out refi, and her new payment is actually lower than her old payment. Win-win. So if you're looking to purchase a new home, do a cash out refi to renovate your current home or pay off high interest credit card debt, boom, let the loan advisors at Accurate Mortgage help you find the right loan solution for you. Visit Accurate Mortgage today, AccurateMTG.com, AccurateMTG.com. Wide-ranging show today. Accurate Mortgage Group, a division of Acopia LLC, is an equal housing lender. NMLS number 4664. 3HL 104.5 The Zone. We've been told we have 3 minutes, so let's zoom through. Mac Talk is coming up. The season finale of Mac Talk with Rhett Bryan and Coach Mac. Injury report for the Titans. Devontae Harris did not practice. The only guy. Devontae Harris.
What?
Did not practice. He's the only guy standing over there.
One person?
By himself. I don't know what he was doing. Terrell Basham, limited. Dylan Cole, limited. Christian Fulton, limited. Amani Hooker, limited. Nicholas Petit-Frere, limited. Jeffrey Simmons, limited. Full participation. Josh Thompson.
Hey.
Derrick Henry.
Hey, King.
Danico Autry.
Denitro.
That's his wrestling name. Denitro.
Sounds like an American Gladiator.
Yeah. What else were we going to do here? Mike Vrabel. You ready for this, Hunk? Mike Vrabel's watching Damar Hamlin's incident from a parent's perspective last night, as a lot of us were.
Well, I think the one thing that resonates now is when you're a parent and your kids play sports, with all respect to the other players, you don't really watch them. You don't watch the game. You stare at your son or your daughter who's an offensive lineman or a third baseman, and you don't know if it was a ball or a strike, and you don't know if it was a run play or a pass play. You just kind of watch your son or daughter, and that's kind of how you watch sports as a parent. So I guess that's what I thought, that he has a grandparents or parents that watched that, and they didn't know how T. Higgins got the ball. They just saw him make a tackle. They watched him, progress through the play. So I guess that's where I went, and then just watched everything unfold with the coaching staffs and the players, how they supported each other.
Obviously, all of us are praying for, thinking about Damar Hamlin, his family, his friends, his teammates, everyone around the league, and everyone around the league is dealing with this. Every head coach is dealing with this with his guys. No different from Mike Vrabel, Titans coach, talking about the team meeting they had about it.
We shared, some great conversations. Had an opportunity to, discuss this, how everybody's feeling. I think guys are, they understand the severity, of this. They understand the game and what we love, and sometimes things that you love the most and that can give you the most can also take the most away. But, there's some really, really cool comments that our players shared with each other and with me and everybody else. So I think that they are doing their best to support former teammates who are in Buffalo, but also understand that we have a great opportunity to continue to do what we love to do. And one of our leaders said, and this is someone that knew Damar or knows Damar, is that they're grateful. They're reminded that they're grateful that they get to do this. And I thought that was really special to hear some of those guys talk.
Man, no doubt.
Head coach Mike Vrabel. John in the borough, I am so sorry that we did not get to you. Please call back tomorrow. You jumped to the front of the line.
Yes.
Just tell Hunk and we'll be ready for you, brother. Mac Talk coming up. What a day, man.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, continued prayers. We want that good news, man. We want that good news. That he has woken up.
Yep.
Continue praying, everyone.
Power prayer is something, man.
Yes, it is.
All right, Mac Talk coming up next. Coach Mac, Rhett Bryan. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Love y'all. God bless.
We gone.
See ya.